I'll tell her that.
You live.
Sorry for the delay. Samantha's coming to join us, and then we'll have a quorum and can start.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, Sam.
Hi. Sorry about the delay. I wasn't planning on joining. I thought y'all could go on without me. I got an unexpected grant that's due Monday.
Well, this meeting will be pretty quick.
Sorry about holding you all up. Let's get going.
So with that, we got a quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. So given that we're all in separate locations, there's two items that we need to vote on, and Ashley is going to take some notes for us, and she's going to call for the votes. So the first thing is approval of the agenda. There's only two of you, so.
Can I get an approval of the agenda from Dick Cook,
Yes.
Samantha Mendez?
Yes, I second that.
Okay. And then I vote yes on that too, Ashley. Okay, so item 3 is approval of the minutes. And sorry, I just sent them out.
Yeah, I read them. I'm making a motion we approve them as
Okay,
written.
can I get a second?
I second.
Wait, can I get a roll call, Ashley?
Dick Cook,
Yes.
Samantha Mendez,
Yes.
Eric Boyda.
Yes. Great. Item number 4, Dick, this is the administrative regulation for property acquisition. And I can put up the sheet that you had, the checklist, and I thought you could just run through it. Well, I did have it.
Okay, Tim wanted a checklist for property acquisitions, and this is something that Eric and I kind of worked together to put together things that we ought to look at prior to accepting a donation or acquiring the property. And I guess the thinking was that if we get together and talk about it, we'll do a better job of being able to accept them, and we don't necessarily have to accept every property. So we need to look at the pros and cons and make a recommendation. Of course, the council will be the one that decides whether or not they accept the property. And then in addition to these different things we talked about were the slope and aspect, the proximity to the other public owned property and potential uses, tree density and composition, is it ready to be taken now, or is there work that has to be done to get it to our standard? If there's any drainage issue, maybe an estimate of property value, and I'm not sure exactly how we do that, but we can probably get a kind of an idea how much it's worth. And then if there are any known liabilities against the properties, and then just other data for the property. And then Tim sent out an administrative regulation that he wanted filled out as far as, have you got that, Eric?
Yeah, I'll put it up. So I was helping Dick with this process, and I just put in a rough draft for the procedures, but a lot of the checklist that Dick prepared kind of needs a map produced for it. And so we thought that whoever is the project manager for the property acquisition would get with the appropriate GIS staff to attach 3 maps to the checklist. And so Dick and I thought that the 3 would be the property aerial imagery, and then you could identify the surrounding publicly owned properties, the slope layer map, which is a type of map using the LiDAR data. And so I can show you guys an example of one that Ashley made for the Eagle Creek Sports Complex. It's just basically percent slopes. And so we were going to set up some different categories where there'd be distinct colors for these certain color bands. But basically, if it's green, it's a flat area. If it's yellow, it's kind of a transitional, and orange is a very steep piece of property. And that can help us dictate its uses, or for Dick's purpose, it kind of determines what techniques have to be used for thinning, because it's a little bit harder to thin these steep areas. And then the third one would be a contour map, and then with any known bodies of water or wetlands mapped. So we thought probably like a 5-foot contour map might give you a good lay of the land, so that you can kind of see where the drainages are and other things.
Yeah, the other part of that was that it's kind of been turned over to the Watershed Committee. And so for each individual piece of land, I think that we either ought to, as a group or individually, go out and do an on-site of the property to be considered, and then come up with a group recommendation to the council on at least what we think about the property, and maybe give them a little more information if they need it to do that. Susan, you might chime in here and tell us if you think that this would be helpful to the council to go through this process.
It would be for me. And I'm sure that everyone else it would be helpful for too. It seems like an awful lot of work, but if we're looking at different properties, at least it gives us an idea.
I think the real power in this is when people are trying to donate property, because a lot of times when people are trying to donate property to us, it has some type of liability to it, or Right. They got a notice from Dick saying, hey, you need to get your trees into our forestry compliance, and they just don't want to spend the money to do it, so they
Sure.
try to get rid of the property.
Okay.
So does anybody else have any thing they think needs to be in here, or any changes they think need to be made to this before we send it back to Tim?
I know Tim had talked a little bit about possibly putting it through the development review checklist, but that might be a little bit more thorough than than necessary. And I don't know what your thought is about that, Samantha.
Yeah, it's kind of the same process. It's all the directors have a chance for input.
Yeah, we could do it as a part of development review. It wouldn't hurt. The only bad thing with that is sometimes if it's time sensitive, for whatever reason, development review is only held once a month. That would be the only setback.
Yeah, I guess I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a duplication. If the same people are looking at it twice, why? And so if we have, get rid of the time sensitivity, if we went ahead and did it as a watershed committee, because we could call a special meeting or whatever, but.
I agree. And I think, you know, it's not per se that the watershed committee would have any type of like authority over the matter. It's just that all of our programmatic areas are, you know, we cover all of the main land ownership purposes by having the 5 of us participate in this. So I think that's why it'd be appropriate committee. So I think this is good, Dick. I think we just need to make a little bit refinement to the procedures section, like we talked about on your email. And then I think we can send it to Tim for review.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Okay, next item is the 88-acre thinning project on Skewen Road with you, Dick. Do you want me to put up that map again? Or do you, I said that anyone can share a screen if you wanted to share a screen.
I've got the map on my screen of the, we can do it on this one if you want to, it doesn't matter.
Wait, I just stopped sharing. You can do your share screen and pop up your map. Just the green button.
Okay. Is my screen up now or not?
It's just showing the website. So when you do the share screen, you'll want to click the first thing that says screen. Oh wait, you know you're good, Dick. I'm sorry. So you just need to pop open the map. Let's see here. Can you drag your map to wherever are you on your laptop, I guess?
No, I'm on my desktop, but I thought that I thought I had it here.
Dick, do you need me to go over there?
If you could, Ashley.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, essentially, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
This is the same as the colored maps that Eric had a while ago, but essentially you can see that the contours, and this is kind of a preliminary thing of the 88 acres I talked about. And just to go over it, this went through the development review committee without too many different comments on it, but the green lines on this map are a road system that we proposed to put in there, and Josh is already working on that, and that's so we can extract as much of the material as we can. And you can see the writing on here that where it says removal, we're going to extract as much as we can. And then right up on the north side where it says masticate, access is limited there except from the other side and private land. And so we'll probably either chip or masticate anything that we have up there. And then the steeper slopes here, we're probably gonna just lop and scatter. And essentially what that is you change the arrangement of the fuel so that it doesn't burn as hot and doesn't have the potential to crown. And so this particular area will probably be cut up into about 4 different projects. And one of the reasons for 4 different projects instead of 1 is that we're probably going to run into a conflict with the snow park because of timing. And so between the first or the middle of October and maybe February, we won't be able to operate in this area because of the snow park unless we do it way over here on the east side of it. So anyway, that's just a kind of a rough thing we're looking at now to actually thin this particular area. And the main thing that we want to do for coordination was the road system. And Eric's been out and looked at it, and there's also the money we have says watershed and fuel abatement. And so this little canyon, if you can see my pointer right here, is one that has the potential for putting some water retention structures and things in there. And so we may try to do that from a watershed perspective to maybe slow down erosion that's in this steeper canyon here. So anybody got any questions?
And so that canyon there, Dick, so that is, as of June 1st, that area is not of Army Corps jurisdiction. So we won't have to get any permits to do the work in there. But we have started engaging Chris Phillips, and he's going to contemplate a proposal to help us identify locations where we can put in. When I was walking the sections I did, it seems like a really good candidate for what's called a one rock check dam. It's basically where you just put boulders. You don't stack boulders. It's just one rock layer, and you put a couple rows of them in a drainage area, and it slows down the water and encourages it to soak in. And so that will help the area there. And then also in the bottom corner along Eagle Creek, this little stretch here is very, it's not very diverse and could really benefit from some increases in habitat diversity. And so we're going to be looking at that one, but that one is still under Army Corps jurisdiction. And so it's going to be a little bit tougher to do that. But we are getting a cost proposal from Chris to help us with that. And we'll try to utilize Dick's legislative appropriation if it's not taken away from us. But if not, we've got the water utility has some watershed funds, and this would really fit in with the objectives of the water utility, because we'll be able to encourage some groundwater recharge, and that has connections to our well field.
Yeah, that funding thing, until we get the governor's budget, we won't know. We have some money, probably $30,000 or $40,000 that we'll have left from the $172,000 appropriation that we got a couple of years ago. But since it hasn't been obligated yet, we don't even know if we'll have that. So the funding issue, once we get the budget, we'll know a little bit more about where we can go and what we can do. Any other questions?
I think it's good. You know, and the other thing worth noting is with the addition of this logging trail that the street department put in, Tom Dorgan won't have, he was driving his ATV up this drainage and causing some not major issues, but it could cause some issues in the long term. And so now I'll start using these logging trails to drive around, and it will be in a better spot than driving up a drainage.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on to the next item, which is the Grindstone Watershed Special Fund projects. So if T-Bone, if you could chime in for about the stairs and split rail fencing and how that project went, and then we can.
Well, I guess we had $15,000 of it. We spent it all plus some more money. You know, we bought some split rail fence and some chemicals, but you know, we also did the hydro seeding, all the cuts when they redid the upper parking lot and all the cuts that were in the parking lot area. So we did hydro seed. We also did the stairs from the upper parking lot to the bottom parking lot. And we did split rail fence pretty much along all the edges of the parking lots. There was also another thing we did. I don't know if you knew about this one. We sprayed all the junipers in the campground, and we sprayed them with the Garlon 4 Ultra. And just for your information, we used 80 ounces of the Garlon with 2.5 gallons of water, which totaled about 400 ounces. And we just sprayed them right on all the little junipers that regrow. So hopefully that killed all the junipers. And then we have another project going on, and we're putting gutters on the building. And so they were talking about running it into a retention pond, but they also wanted to see what you guys thought about maybe capturing it and using that water and for an example is to maybe clean the sidewalks with it. And so I was going to throw that guy at you guys.
Well, and I think that was actually my idea that I shared with Rodney, was capturing the water, and I thought it could be used for some minor irrigation, but I think it'd be a good demonstration area just given the volume of people that are there. And so maybe we can work out some costs of doing that, and I could pay for it out of my water conservation funds.
What kind of storage are you talking about using?
I was personally thinking that it'd be a good thing just to have like one of those large recycled chemical totes. What was my
The ones that are about 270 gallons?
Yeah.
The white ones? Yeah, they're about 270 gallons.
Do you have a different idea, Dick?
No, I was just curious as to how you were going to hold the water before you use it.
I don't think that I don't think that the roof is big enough for us to warrant putting in like a underground storage tank or anything. And I think it'd be good to have like an above ground visual, and we can probably figure out some way to enhance its aesthetics.
You know, in the past, there's one at the library, and we actually just painted it black. I think they put a little cedar fence on one side of it, so you couldn't really see it. But I mean, something like that, or you could do a brick wall around it.
Well, and some of it, I mean, as we don't want it to look, hideous or anything, but it might be good to have it be visible so that people can see it. And we could put a signage showing that, hey, you can collect water off your roof, and here's how we utilize it.
I think that's a great idea. T-Bone Grindstone looks wonderful. It looks great.
Yeah, we've been putting a lot of work in there.
I know it shows. It looks really, really good. Thank you.
Well, I can't wait for the beach.
I know that. I'm excited about that too.
Okay,
I think there'll be a lot of people utilizing the beach area.
So that ties into our next topic here is the Grindstone Beach. So I submitted the Army Corps permit, the Army Corps pre-construction notification And the Army Corps is going to be in town on the 9th, and they're going to be visiting the site to do inspections. And then they're going to be visiting some of the other project areas that we've done, including the Grindstone Canyon wetlands. They're going to do their final inspection to make sure that that's in good shape, and the Robin Road Bridge. And then they're inspecting like the Cedar Creek trail crossing and some other things. So we still have plenty of time to get the permit issued. Our tentative target is still at after Labor Day. So we're kind of targeting late September, October as our time frame for construction.
So Eric, just for your information, we did haul all the rocks off of that area, those big rocks that we could get to.
Okay.
So that should help in the future.
Okay.
When they dig it.
And we talked to the engineer of record and asked him to give us a proposal of him just to be out there for a couple of days while we're building it. And I haven't received it yet, but I'll double check on that. But I think it would be really helpful for us especially when we're trying to get specific grades. We don't want to have the slope of the beach be too steep, otherwise the sand will wash out of there. And then that leaves our one last project for the special fund, and that's your project, Dick, the Juniper Resprout project off Santa Anita.
Yes, that was we've actually gone out and flagged that now, and the two parts came out the 5.05 acres on the west and 4.19 acres on the east. And the original thing was to maybe have a crew like T-Bone's crew or whatever administer some vegetative treatment to the one side and then contract the other side to see how they come out economically. And I got to think the other day, as busy as the recreation guys are, and we need to do this probably in the peak growing season for the juniper, which would be during the monsoons, is our T-Bone, are you guys going to have time to spray little over 4 acres of juniper up there?
You know, I probably could get a couple guys up there. Do you know how many acres the campground is right off?
It's probably 5
I don't know exactly. There's probably 80 or 90 acres total that we thinned up there.
Yeah, but so if the campground is 5 acres, I think I had 2 guys up there about 3 days, and actually I think the last day only had 1 guy, and so we pretty much did the whole campground in, I'll say, 2.5 days. 2 guys.
Ashley, can you take a quick measurement in GIS of the area of the campground? Just a rough estimate.
Yeah.
Well, we were thinking about maybe on part of it using Remedy, but you said another different chemical. Have you tried Remedy?
You know what? I did try Remedy out at, we tried it at below the Alto Dam. And I did notice with the Remedy, if you didn't cover the plant totally, some of it was still green. I haven't been back since I looked at it, but there was only the very tips that were green. And I looked at that, last fall after we had sprayed it during the summer. I had to purchase the Remedy, and then you have to purchase the oil to go with it. And I have Garland. in stock, which, I mean, I had got it free from the state highway a few years back. So that's why I was using it on the junipers. And I actually haven't looked in the campground to see how it's worked. I will go up there and I'll let Rodney know so he can let you guys know. But it's just, well, I didn't have to pay for that chemical. So that's why I use garlic.
I guess one of the things that we were looking at is to make sure that we get the kill. And what I know of Remedy, you do have to make sure you saturate the plant, or if it's a bigger plant, you got to make sure you saturate the trunk part of it to kill it.
You know, Dick, in the end, out there at Eagle Creek, we decided, and as you know, we use cast. We decided to cut the juniper so we didn't have to spray the whole plant. And we were spraying just the base after we cut it. And so I haven't been back to see how that worked out. But
we might want to take a look out there to see if there's any resprouting going on, because you know our objective is
I can look at both projects.
Is to kill the stuff so it doesn't keep growing.
Yeah, I can look at both projects and see which ones work better.
What's the active ingredient in Remedy? Is it, trying to look it up here on my phone?
You know,
Yeah,
Remedy is actually not a registered chemical. I think.
So Remedy is just a triclopyr. They're the same herbicide. Your Remedy and your Garlon is both triclopyr. So they're the same one, it's just a different manufacturer.
Yeah. In the Garlon 4, it's 60% triclopyr. So I don't know what the percentage is in Remedy.
Anyways, I think it would be good for us to use, so whatever you're speccing, Dick, I think we should do the same for us, even though you have some of this chemical, just so that it's a good comparative study.
Okay, I'll get with T-Bone. Maybe we can price some of them and see what the price to do both of them is, and then the only difference would be the actual labor cost, and to see whether we do it contract or whether we can round up some folks to do it.
Okay.
So we'll do that. But anyway, the reason I brought it back up is because we ought to be looking within the next month or month and a half of getting that treatment applied.
So, so can we, T-Bone, will you be in a good spot towards the end of July to have crews?
I think it's possible that we could. I mean, if it's 5 acres, we could do it. I think without a issue.
Okay, and I can talk to Randy about having David come help, because he's our maintenance person for the water production, and so this is the kind of the stuff that he would be doing. So I can try to get, especially if it's only going to be 2 days or so. I kind of think it would just take 2 days. All of it's really accessible from the road too.
Yeah, in this particular area, it was thinned and the juniper were cut 2 years ago, and so they're all about a foot and a half or so. So that's about the size we're looking at, whether we're spraying or not. But there's quite a few of them on that parcel.
And another thing to think about is you may want to get a dye so we don't miss much. If you put a dye into that chemical, you can see that what you sprayed.
Well, that's probably a really good idea. Then you'd have a better idea of what is real mortality and what we might have missed, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess if Dick and T-Bone, if you could get together the materials that we need for our portion of it, I can get the requisition put in and we can pay for it out of this special fund. And then Dick, if you wanted to start preparing in the advertisement, we can get that moving and pay for that out of the special fund too.
Okay, so who's got control of the special fund? Is it Rodney or is it you, Eric, or?
It's Judy is the one who has the control to put in the requisitions, and I'm the approver for it.
Okay,
So if you just get if you go through the process and then you select your person that you want to award, then I can help you with the PO.
okay, sounds good.
Hey,
And
Dick, I'm putting on my schedule. Oh, sorry.
Nope, I'm just saying that. And then if you get the other materials, then just get those to me and I'll get those purchased right away.
Okay, T-Bone, maybe we can get together and decide if we want to purchase that remedy or if you've got enough of the stuff you've got. If it's older, I don't know if it loses its oomph or not.
Well, you know what I'm going to do, Dick? I put on my schedule Monday. I will go out and look at both areas and decide which one has worked better or if it doesn't matter.
Okay.
If they both did a good job.
Sounds good. So we'll get moving on it.
Okay. So then, I just realized my numbering's all messed up. So the next item on the agenda is just a project round robin. If anyone wanted to give any updates to some of their projects that they're working on. If we wanted to start with you, Dick.
I pretty well talked about all the projects we got. We did get, before the meeting started, I was talking to Susan and we got a project approved on Moon Mountain that's over there by Blazer's Mill. It's a place that the state land office never did thin, and it's right up next to village property, and it's pretty bad. So we put in an application to the state land office and we got approval, but no money for doing the project there to make that a little bit of fire safe around that property around Blazer's Mill. And so we got a permit from state lands beginning August 1st. So pretty soon around August 1st, we'll be having a little thinning project on about probably 5.5, 6 acres over Moon Mountain. And everything else we got done is either completed. That 25 acre one that's just north of the 22.9 acre one off of Ski Run Road. If funding is still available, then we'll be out getting that obligated from the state. And we'll be doing that the first week in July next week. And we'll find out if the funding is still available. But those are the projects we got in the very near future.
Okay. Samantha, if you're still there with us, do you have anything to talk about? How did your metropolitan area discussion go?
So that is a work in progress. We're in the early stages of just identifying and inventorying blighted properties throughout Sudworth. So the contractors came and did a site visit, and they're compiling them, and they're going to bring it back so we can establish the zone that we want to focus on to try to attract businesses and housing and do public improvements.
Right. Did you guys visit the Eagle Bridge, that property at all?
Yeah, we did. They like it. They said it's coming out great. And we went all the way down to the Y, and so there were some properties that I didn't consider blighted, but they did. So I guess it's good to bring in some fresh eyes. Just get kind of used to seeing things the way they are around town. So it'll be interesting to see what their report comes out like.
Okay. Any other kind of watershed projects that you have any updates on?
No, I don't have anything that relates to that.
So then, for me, we talked about it before, but we finished up the Robin Road Bridge repairs and put in 2 rock weirs and created some fish habitat. Really encourage everyone to try to stop down there and check it out. And then the Grindstone Canyon wetlands are all the way done and are going to be inspected next Thursday. And then as it pertains to the Horton Complex stormwater management, both the surveys and the geotech has been done on the site, and Chris is starting to work on the preliminary design. And then Chris is also working on the Eagle Bridge project that we were just talking about, and hopefully we'll have a initial design here within a month, so we can start looking at engaging different grants and other partners to participate in that project. I think that's everything that I've got going on now. Does any of the other participants have anything to share?
No, I think I've shared all along. I just appreciate everybody's hard work. I think you do a great job, everybody.
Thank you. T-Bone, do you got anything that hasn't been talked about?
No, sir. Most of my stuff, my big project is Grindstone Lake. It seems like it's never ending, but
Yeah.
Everything that's going on there, and that's about it.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's everything, any last call for anything? Okay. I'm gonna call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye. You all.
See you later.
Bye.